Palace are chasing Iheanacho. That's what the reports are saying, as well as two, not one, two bids rejected for Mateta. We've got Ronnie Edwards popping back on the radar, the Peterborough defender. We'll be discussing that. And also, what is going to happen with Rak-Sakyi? Is he going to stay? Is he going to leave? There's not that long left till the window shuts. Big decisions need to be made. But let's get started with Palace news. What is going on, people? Welcome to Live Palace News. We're here to discuss all the latest with Palace. I know yesterday was a disappointing defeat against Arsenal, but we've got bigger fish to fry, as they like to say over in them sides with Arsenal. We've got transfer business. We need to do business. Royce suggested it yesterday after the game as well. We know as a fan base we need to do it. Not that many, but one or two could potentially be done this week, according to Steve Parish, what he said last week when Elise signed a contract extension. As always, people, let's try to get over passionate with the support. So thank you to every single one of you. As I said at the introduction, there's striker news today, there's defender, there's potential loanees. So there's a lot to talk about. As always, we want you to get involved as well. So send in your comments throughout the show and also leave them in the comment section down below if you're watching it on replay. Now, Iheanacho. I've heard a lot of people say, D, what about Iheanacho? What about Che Adams? But Iheanacho hasn't really been mentioned by news reporters until recently, and one of them being, as of yesterday and the day before, Iheanacho race, it seemed like he's stepping up, people. According to Nazar Kinsella, who has over like 400,000 followers over on Twitter, he has said the following. He gave an update on the whole striker situation. He spoke about Mateta as well. He said that Crystal Palace are chasing the race for Kelechi Iheanacho, as Leipzig see two bids turned down for young Fleet Mateta. Palace are open to letting him go and replacing him. Interesting. Iheanacho, we'll start off with that, then we'll move on to Mateta. I'll be honest, I said this yesterday as well after the game. I think I know what Dougie wants in a striker. Based on all the rumors we've been seeing, I think I know the profile. So we saw it yesterday with Nketiah. Nketiah missed two big chances for Arsenal, but there was other elements to his game where you can see how he links to the likes of Che Adams and even Iheanacho. I think we're looking for a striker that's comfortable on the ball, that has a bit of pace, that can beat a player, which right now we are struggling with the likes of Mateta and Edward. And I think Iheanacho fits that category. Iheanacho also is likely, I could see something like this happening. I think Iheanacho, he started his career at Man City. I remember when he first came on against Palace, it was a home game, and I'll never forget that. And he's always had that energy. He's still relatively young as well, so he hasn't entered his peak years. And I think he would fit into what we need, because right now what we're lacking, especially we saw it yesterday as well, when teams play low block or when you're trying to chase a game, you need that technical players. And I don't think we have that in terms of striking options. I think Edward has his strengths and cons. I think Mateta has his strengths and cons, but none of them can really beat a player. I mean, Edward is better in front of goal rather than beating a player and going past him. And I think Iheanacho, just like Nketiah, as we saw yesterday against us, he's capable of beating a defender. He can run at a defender. And as you can see yesterday, when Eze didn't have any support, Iheanacho can do that 1-2 with him. Of course, the report doesn't suggest how much Iheanacho could be costing Palace, but I'd assume it wouldn't be crazy amounts of money. When I say crazy amounts of money, maybe in the £15 million range. I'm not exactly too sure. I haven't really seen anything, whether it's going to be loan or permanent, but it feels permanent. I think he should fit our price category. But we need to get something done. We need to get something done, because I think the squad has talent. We saw it yesterday in midfield, as well as the defense. But also the squad is lacking one or two players that we desperately need. I think yesterday, talent cost us the game rather than anything else. I think all the players out on the pitch gave it their all, but unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. I'm not slating them for it, But it's just the talent levels and depth levels. We just didn't have it. But look, let us know what you guys think as well in terms of Iheanacho. Would you guys be happy with an Iheanacho signing, a striker that has done in the Premier League? He's played for Man City, he's played for Leicester as well. So he's got that experience. He should be fast on the ball. He should be a ball carrier as well, which is important because right now we don't really have that. For me, I would be happy with this. Because I can see him fitting a side like Palace, as well as creativity that we could have in the team, the likes of Eze, Elise feeding him. Remember, Elise last season had 11 assists. With all due respect, with Mateta and Edwards as our strikers, like he done what no one could really imagine of. And I know the assists were to Eze and other players as well. But imagine if you have a striker that could find the space in the box and can finish them chances. I'm not saying Iheanacho will score 15, 20 goals for Palace, but I think he would offer more in terms of his overall game to help others than what we have currently, even though Edward has seemed like he has improved from the first and second game of the season so far. Now, 25 million, is he worth that? Now, I don't know if the reports are saying 25 million. I think that would be a massive gamble. And honestly, I don't see Palace paying £25 million for Iheanacho due to the fact that we paid, 25 million euros for France. I just don't see us spending about, near enough 50 million in this market. But then again, I mean, if you're, how long left to the window shuts? We're in the 22nd of August. There should be about, 8 days or so till the window shut. Can you really gamble with prices? Can you really say, no, we don't want to pay that? We're running out of time. We had months to do business and we haven't done it in terms of striker. We were distracted, of course, with Zaha leaving. Also with the Elise news that is now done and dusted. Now we can actually focus on our targets. So I hear both sides of perspective, but I think for me, Iheanacho should be fitting 15, 20 million. And I think we should be able to get him for that. 25 just sounds a bit too much for my liking, especially for a player that's right now in the championship. I know he's got all the talent, but yeah, I think we could get a deal done. Thank you, Ron. Really appreciate it. Eze definitely needed help up there yesterday. Yeah, he did. Eze needed help. And I think Arsenal done a fantastic job in terms of containing him. You have to give credit to Arsenal as well, because even yesterday, I didn't want to criticize Edward too much because there was no space in the middle. When Eze was on the ball, he was out on the ball in wide areas. And that was the issue. They forced him out wide. They targeted him. They tried to mark him out of the game. And there's only so much you can do. But then again, imagine if we had France. Of course, we haven't seen France play. But from what we've been hearing, imagine if we had him or Elise on the pitch as well. It would have been much harder for Arsenal to try and contain that. But we only had one creative option. Now, Iheanacho is not a creative option in terms of I don't expect him to, get 10 assists or so. But then again, I think his link-up play, I think his overall game could actually help or could have helped Eze even in a game like yesterday where Edward, he tried his best, but it just wasn't enough. Talk is him and Iverson with Jesus going the other way on loan. Yeah, I saw that as well the other day, but the latest reports didn't mention Iverson. If anything comes up, we'll talk about him. Have to get this deal done. Always rated him, says Krish. Palace 1439 says 100% also need a winger. Callum Hudson-Odoi. So with Hudson-Odoi, there's also reports suggesting that he's willing to take a pay cut. The funny thing is, Palace are not linked with him anymore. So I don't know if that ship has sailed. It seems like Fulham were linked, now Everton. And I think there's one more Premier League side that I saw as well, but Palace were not included in the conversation. So maybe that is now done and dusted, which for me, I think we do need another winger. I think another winger could go a long way in terms of, quality depth, not just depth for depth's sake. But, down the left-hand side, let's say France is that Wilf replacement. I think how the club are seeing it is that Schlupp can play as a second option to it. Now, I'm not saying that should be the right thing or that would be the wrong move. I'm not saying right or wrong. That's up to you guys. But for me, Schlupp, in terms of if we have a tight budget and we have to focus on, one or two positions, I think I'll spend the majority of that budget on a striker rather than a winger, especially after we got França. But saying that, I think we still need another winger. But then again, that might be a loan option. But interesting that Hudson-Odoi all of a sudden it's gone quiet with Palace. I don't know why that is, but yeah, he's willing to take a pay cut. Last year was contract. Yeah, it is. with Iheanacho, I don't know if you're talking about Hudson-Odoi. I think it is with Hudson-Odoi, but Iheanacho, that's a very good question. I'm just going to find out right now. If it is his last year of his contract, I mean, £25 million. And the report isn't suggesting that, but someone left a comment saying £25 million for Iheanacho. I think that it just sounds a bit too much for me anyways. It just sounds a bit for a player, that's in the championship now after they got relegated. And look, I think he's a quality player. I think he would fit our system as well. But look, it's not my money at the end of the day, but I just don't realistically see Palace paying that much. We don't do business with Chelsea. Apparently, the Athletic have reported that, surprisingly, we're still fine with Chelsea in terms of business terms. We all thought it would be sour, right? After Elise what happened in that situation. But it seemed like Chelsea and Palace were civil for now. We're civil. I'm pretty sure there's a bit of tension there, but it seemed like we're still civil in terms of doing business together, which has surprised me as well. And that's according to the Athletic. I'll take Nonto, Somerville. But yeah, look, let's move on to the second part of that report. Iheanacho, he's been popping up in the last few days. Of course, we haven't been able to do Palace news because there's so much other Palace content, but we're going to try bring it back up. The other part of the report, which is arguably the more interesting, is Mateta. And it suggests that Leipzig have had 2 bids turned down for Mateta. Now, I don't know who is turning down these bids right now, but it sounds crazy. I even saw, not in this latest report, but I even saw something along the lines of £11 million turned down by Palace. Now, £11 million for Mateta, I don't know how true that is. If a club offers that, I am taking that money today. There's no debate about that. £11 million for Mateta. I don't think he's a horrible player, but he's not cut for the Premier League. He has scored some big goals, so there'll be a bit of a emotional departure in that aspect. But I am willing to cash in. You give me £11 million for Jan-Philippe Mateta, there is no debate. Give me the money. Just send me the money. We'll send you the product. That's how it works. Send me the money, because that is fantastic. That would be fantastic business. But I think the reason why we might be rejecting it is we're trying to get a replacement lined up, as the report suggested. It said about us chasing up Iheanacho, as well as 2 bids turned down for Mateta, and he even said we're willing to let him go and replace him. Maybe Iheanacho not being certain is why Palace haven't let go of Mateta yet. And also, people, we spoke about in the match preview that's going to come out tomorrow, and make sure to check that out because it was very good. It was me, Stan, AJ, and T speaking about the game for against Brentford on Saturday. And Roy said something yesterday which was very interesting about Mateta. So he said there's an injury. That's how I first found out on social media, that apparently Mateta had an injury. But then when actually speaking about the situation, he said something along the lines of, Mateta came in the morning. I don't know if it was match day morning or the day before. And he said, I had a sore knee. And I said, that's fine, go home. Now, that just sounds too fishy. Maybe that is the case, and Mateta did have a sore knee. But the fact that you came in, you had a sore knee, just go home, I don't know. I don't know whether to believe that, because all these reports are popping up. All these reports are popping up about Mateta wanting to leave. It started at the end of last season, and now 2 bids turned down. Is there something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about? And of course, Roy's not going to come out in the public domain and say Mateta wants out of the club. He's not going to say that. But the way he worded that injury, he has a sore knee and I just sent him home. I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I guess we'll find out against Brentford. But yeah, I would not be surprised if Mateta leaves in this window. And I'll actually be, in a way, disappointed if Mateta doesn't leave in this window, because he has wanted to leave. It's not only us that are talking about it. He has, from what we heard from reports, as I said, at the end of last season, Mateta does not want to be at Palace. And I get it, because remember, when he was last time around at Palace under Roy didn't select him as much. Then again, clearly Roy doesn't rate him, so there's no point of us keeping Mateta. And if you can give me anything above £10 million and plus, give me that any day of the week. I'll take it right now. Mateta over Eddie. Rubber band. No way. I'm sorry, bro. There's no way Mateta is better than Eddie. I refuse to believe that. Actually, you can have that debate, right? Because Mateta has scored bigger goals than Eddie. But as a player, if you take away the goals and how big they were, I think Eddie's still the better player. Then again, they're both, you can make the argument, not good enough for the Premier League as well. Paul says, yes, I'll take £11 million. Roger agrees as well, £11 million. Dan, trust me, we're gonna get into that. Ronnie Edwards. There's links to him. As I said on yesterday's stream, injury can be code for a player on the move. Exactly, Mitch. Exactly. I do think that as well. And I guess time will tell. We'll see what happens against Brentford. Sawney, allegedly. But yeah, let's just believe Roy for the sake of it. I don't think Roy is in the fault here, but I think Mateta's probably trying to force a move as well. Who should be our striker, says AY. Well, according to reports, it might be Iheanacho. It might be Mateta out the door with Iheanacho coming in, which I'll be honest, as I said, if you're just joining now, I think I've got the profile that Dougie wants figured. He wants a player that's fast, that can play on the ball, most importantly. Che Adams fits that category. And Ketia, as we saw yesterday, yes, he missed 2 big chances. That's something else. He was beating our players. His movement was great as well on and off the ball. And I think Iheanacho is similar in that aspect as well. Movement, pace. Can he do, quick link-up play with other players? And I think that's what we're looking for right now. And I think all them strikers so far that we've been linked with, they all fit that category. So Iheanacho could be a realistic one. It could be a realistic one as well. Because I'm pretty sure he'd want to play in the Premier League. And, let's be honest, if you're a striker, I know sometimes we can overhype Palace, but if you have the likes of Eze and Elise feeding you the balls, I'll come to Palace, take the risk. Why would I, stay in the Championship? I'll happily do that. So yeah, hopefully Iheanacho forces a move as well, and we can maybe get, cheaper £5 million deal if he wants to. Eddie better if you value the comedic value he provides when he's on the ball. That is harsh. I thought he had a solid game against Sheffield United, and yesterday it wasn't his fault. I don't think it was his fault. He had that one opportunity, a free header, and that went wide. But Arsenal done a great job covering the middle area. There was barely any space for him to operate in. Mitch saying, people sitting around me in the stands yesterday were also saying Mateta is the best striker. No idea where they get that from. I think it's because he scored bigger goals, right? He scored bigger goals. So that's where the hype is coming from for Mateta. But look, we'll move on from Mateta. If you're watching a replay, let us know what you guys think about Mateta and Iheanacho potentially replacing him. Would you be happy with that deal? And also, how much are you willing for the club to spend on Iheanacho? What do you think would be the right price tag at this point of the window? Now, let's move on to the second bit of news that's been coming out today. And that is, according to the Daily Mail, Crystal Palace and West Ham have been keeping tabs on the progress of England under-20 international Ronnie Edwards. Now, if you Google Ronnie Edwards, the first thing that comes up is, I'll try to find it, but there's an article with a headline that actually made me chuckle. Is something along the lines of Ronnie Edwards. How on earth is he still at Peterborough? Let me try to find it right now. Here we go. So 15th of July, 2023, from the Peterborough Telegraph. Ronnie Edwards is still at Peterborough United. What an absolute joke. Now, I guess that is talking to the levels of the player he is, but they are even surprised. They are even surprised that a player like Ronnie Edwards is still at Peterborough United. I mean, what a crazy headline to say. One absolute joke for a quality player to be at your side, which shows how much better he should be, considering at that level. But interesting thing about Ronnie Edwards is that he's 100% linked with Palace before. I've definitely spoke about him on these Palace news episodes. No, I'm not even talking about this summer, January, probably pre-January. Of course, as you do these daily, there's so many episodes, I can't tell exactly when, but it was during the winter time. So Ronnie Edwards has clearly been on the radar, just like, for example, França has been, and we managed to get him done. He's an England under-20 international. He's a centre-back, which is interesting. He's still fairly young in terms of age. He's only 20 years old. And yeah, he's had 4 appearances, so he's been playing for Peterborough. That's as expected. And look, he's been there since 2020-21, and we've been linked for a while with him as well. Now, I don't know what exactly we're trying to do. I think we're trying to potentially get him for the talent basis, and he's still fairly young as well. 20 years old. Of course, we lost O'Brien, and in that centre-back area, we are not that strong anymore. Who have we got? We've got Tompkins, Gahey, Anderson. Gahey, Anderson, they're number 1, number 2. They're the starting centre-halves. Behind that is Tompkins. Now, as you guys can remember as well, Chris Richards has been linked with a move away from the club. A loan move. Yes, it is a loan move, not permanent. But if Richards was to leave, we only have 3 centre halves. Now, we're talking about tight budget. We're talking about barely any time left in the window. And I doubt, Peterborough would want to sell Ronnie Edwards for cheap, especially if West Ham are after him as well. Do we have the budget to get this deal done? I would like it to get it done because I think that opens the opportunity for Chris Richards to go out on loan. And then what happens is, what I think hypothetically is, next season we'll have Richards coming back. Tompkins would leave the club. Then we'll have Gay, Anderson. And if one of them leave, then, Richards or Edwards can step up. I think that could be a big ask. Especially the fact that he's been playing at Peterborough right now, but he'll have a year within the club. But then again, have we got the budget? There's nothing about a fee that's being mentioned. I don't know how much it would cost. Now, if he costs around, £10 million or potentially less, then maybe you could fit our category there. But we're talking about Iheanacho, still signing Iheanacho, maybe another winger. I don't know if we've got the budget for this. If we have, then that'd be fantastic. But we've known it all summer. We've been talking about it. Have we got enough money? And if we don't have enough money, then you have to spend it wisely. And I just don't think centre half right now would make sense unless there's another departure. Well, apart from Mateta that we don't know about. I think Mateta leaving, that money would go towards Iheanacho, so that would be naturally replaced. But yeah. Palace fan says, not sure Iheanacho is more clinical than our current strikers. I could be wrong though. People are still talking about the striker situation. What knows me yesterday, you could see we needed a striker. No one was taking shots, and a clinical striker would be lovely. Exactly, a striker that's not willing, that's not scared to not take shots. That would be help. Ronnie Pickering. Ronnie Pickering. Oh my days. You know who I am. Mitch says Eddie seems to be at least improving. Haven't seen that from Mateta. So what do you guys think about the defender situation? Ronnie Edwards, 20 years old, at Peterborough. I don't know if many of you have seen him play, but he has been on our radar. So clearly he's rated by Dougie, just like France was as well. But would you guys expect him to join in this window? Do you expect any type of business, especially if we have a limited budget? Personally, I don't, due to the finances. But then again, I exactly don't know what the finances are involved, but I just don't assume Peterborough will sell him to a Premier League club for dirt cheap. I don't think he'll go for £1 or £2 million. That's my personal opinion. So I think he'll still cost around £5 to £10 million. And if you add that up to a tight, budget, then do we have that? I'm not too sure. People still talk about Mateta. Why are we talking about Mateta? I personally think Mateta looks like he's had his I want to leave hat on. He looks lazy. Mateta can't jump, says Monty. Simon says, if Mateta did have a sore knee, why did we still only have 8 subs instead of 9? Could have put another youngster on the bench. So Simon, about that, I think it could be, it could be 2 things. Maybe it happened last minute and Roy just wanted to have 8 players rather than having a youth player, because of course there's still youth games going on, and you don't want to disrupt their progress. And 2, it could be potentially a message. It could be a message to the board. Roy has been saying it all summer that we need more players. He said it after the game. There was questions asked from Sky on new signings, and he said, I'm pretty optimistic that we could get things done. It might be a message to the board, and there's no point putting players out there on the bench if they're not going to come on the pitch. And that's that. We spoke about that in a live match reaction yesterday. The guy spoke about that, and that was weird, but it could be a variety of factors why he'd rather have 8 than 9 players. iClassical says, at this point we need 2 players coming in, a striker and a midfielder. We were meant to get Lewis Hall and went Newcastle, and our strikers need to be clinical. Our strikers need to be clinical, but can they be clinical? That's another question. I think Edward is the only player that I got hope on between Edward and Mateta. But then again, we need another striker. There's no even Edward. We just need another striker. It's not debatable. We just need one. Even yesterday, Mateta has a sore knee, and then what happens? We literally have no other forwards, and we're just lacking depth. We're lacking quality in that area as well. Why could get Ronnie as either Gay or Anderson will leave, or worse yet, both? I don't think it's a case of you get him because Gay or Anderson's leaving. I don't think Gay or Anderson's leaving at this point of the window. I think that ship is now sailed. It's too late in the window. But I think potentially next summer, one of them 2 could leave. And even if they don't leave, you're talking about, playing this catch-up game with West Ham. They want him as well. And you don't want to lose a target where next summer, we know that Tompkins should most likely leave the club. And then what you have, Gay, even if Gay Anderson do stay at the club, you have Gay, Anderson, and Richards. So you still need another centre half. And if you got a England under-20 international who's at Peterborough, who clearly is better than Peterborough, available, then ideally you'd want that player. Then you have 4 sort of centre halves when Tompkins was to leave. And it also gives him the opportunity to settle in this season. So I don't think it's a case of Ronnie Edwards coming in because because of Gahey and Anderson, Gahey or Anderson leaving. But yeah. Yeah, smash the like button, people. Let's get over 100 likes. There's no way we got 8 likes. I don't think your thing's updated, Roger. I know we do better than 8 likes. I know 100%. I'm saying Mateta the type of player who would have accidentally scored with Sony yesterday in the last minute as well. He's that type of player. Honestly, I don't know how he does it, but big goals, he's there. He's there. Brighton, Millwall, he just loves it. He loves it. Palace fan says, I bet who joined the under-23 squad will be loaned back out to League One Championship, no recruitment. And that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It depends. It depends if Richard goes out on loan. But if he was to join and you send him back out on loan, that would be ideal because, you know, he still has a year of developing. And after that loan move is done, he could come into the team and Tompkins, we can say goodbyes because Tompkins, I mean, let's be honest, you can have that debate on whether he should be at Palace this season because he's got tremendous experience, but his age is catching up to him, and I don't think he's got the legs. But still, yeah, he's still, I guess, a good option to have at his current moment of time, especially with O'Brien gone. Heard Patson Dakar is linked with a move away as well. If you get Iheanacho and leaves Leicester with an odd Vardy, I think they'll probably get a replacement, just like us with Mateta leaving, Iheanacho being a replacement. I'm pretty sure they're going to ask for money just so, you know, they can replace him. So, yeah, Alessa's done a great job in terms of the transfer window so far. Thoughts on the race for Dean Henderson? Palace leading charge ahead of Forest, but is he needed with Sam Johnson doing so well? Henderson can't sit on the bench with his quality. Now, there's this debate going around. Funny enough, even with Arsenal, with Raya signing for Arsenal and also them having Aaron Ramsdale there, can you have 2 potential number ones competing it? Is that too much pressure? Would that be too much pressure on Sam Johnson? For me, it all depends. Dean Henderson is a good goalkeeper, but I don't know if it would work with having 2 potential number ones. I think the number one, we gave it to Sam Johnson. He literally got the number one on his kit right now. And I think that should be clear. But adding Dean Henderson there, Dean Henderson's not going to come Palace and want to be number 2. He's going to fight for that spot, which you can say is healthy competition. But does that mean it's added pressure on Sam Johnson, who's doing well already at Palace? And do we need that? Look, we've got academy goalkeepers. We saw it with Whitworth. I know Goodman's gone out on loan, that they can, you know, step up. So ideally, you want to create a pathway for them as well if they could, you know, potentially rise to the top and be Premier League goalkeepers. I don't think we need a goalkeeper as good as Dean Henderson. But if it was to happen, I guess we'll have quality. But then again, it depends on Sam Johnson and Dean Henderson apparently are good friends. So that would be good in that aspect. But then again, you're going to basically say to Sam Johnson, there is someone behind you, literally behind you. And if you do 1 or 2 mistakes, then you could easily get dropped because Dean Henderson should be knocking on the door. He's not going to come Palace just to be number 2 forever because, you know, this is a goalkeeper that we're talking about whether he can be number 1 for England. And there was that debate. And now you're telling me he's going to be number 2 forever at Palace. No, I think it will be healthy competition. It could elevate Sam Johnson's game as well, but it depends on how Johnson reacts to it. I don't think we need him, but if we do get him, I think that would be a good move in terms of quality, in terms of, you know, quality and depth, but it depends on how Johnson reacts to it. Do you think it's time for Ferguson to go because we have not seen him yet in preseason or training? We'll talk about Nathan Ferguson in just a second. Let me quickly go through the last bit of news, and this is what I need all of you to be involved in because this is a debate that's been going around, and we spoke about him in a match preview as well. And that is on Jez Rak-Sakyi. He has been linked with a move away from the club for a while now. Ever since he's returned back to Palace, he smashed out Charlton. Teams won him. And rightly so. He's still a young player. He's got ability, as we saw yesterday when he came out on the pitch. Funny enough, he only had 9 touches, but when he was on the ball, he looked dangerous. He wanted to beat his player, and there was no shyness from his game. He seemed like he was up for it. But according to reports, Palace are yet to still decide on the future of Rak-Sakyi with, they're saying of Sunderland target. You could say Sunderland target, you could say whole target. There's so many targets. Everyone wants Rak-Sakyi, and rightly so. Now, what do we do with Rak-Sakyi, people? What do you think should happen? Does he go out on a loan move? And the reason for that, you could say, is Elise is going to come back. If Elise comes back, you're going to have Elise, IU as options out wide. And then when França comes back, you could potentially have França and Schlupp, or it could be Rak-Sakyi potentially. But Rak-Sakyi, I'd like to see him down the right-hand side. So down the right, we got Elise. Maybe IU can play down the left. Let's say Elise and Rak-Sakyi. Now, that could potentially work. It depends on how Roy views things. If Elise is number one, which he is, down the right-hand side as a right winger, I think it could either be IU as the number two option, depending on if Roy wants to play him down the left. And if Roy does want to play him down the left, then I guess that'll be França and IU. That's what I'm saying. There's too many ifs and buts. For me, it all depends on if Roy's going to actually use him. Is he genuinely in Roy's plans? I thought he looked exciting. He was energizing to the whole team, even to the fans when he came on the pitch. It was exciting. We lacked creativity and we needed him. Now, Elise is not back for the Brentford game, and we don't know exactly when he's going to be back. So I would like to see Rak-Sakyi get a bit more opportunities. But saying that, if we keep Rak-Sakyi and let's say the window is shut and then Elise comes in and then we barely see Rak-Sakyi play and Roy doesn't see him as like a squad player coming off the bench, then that would hinder his development. So for me, it depends on what Roy wants. I think you can have the argument for him going out on loan. I think that would make sense for his development. But then again, he can also develop at Palace if he's going to get the minutes. Yesterday, Roy trusted him. I think Roy made a very bold move, a move that I really didn't expect him to make. You can say, oh, we're chasing a game. Of course, you're going to put another forward on. But he brought on Rak-Sakyi for Joe Ward. He went all out, and Rak-Sakyi was one of those options. Now, 10-minute cameos, that would be decent, but I think he needs to do a bit more than just 10-minute cameos. But then again, can Roy guarantee that he's going to give him the game time? There's so many questions. But let me know what you guys think about Rak-Sakyi's future at the club. Would you want him to go out on loan? Do you think that would be the right move? For me, as I said, it's hard to say. Look, even if he stays, I think that would be good. I said it about 2 years ago now. I think Rak-Sakyi, even before he went out on loan to Charlton, I think Rak-Sakyi is ready to be a squad player at Palace. He's 100% ready. But as I'm saying, squad player, I'm not too sure about starter, but I don't think he will be a starter in the first place because of the fact that, we got Elise down the right-hand side. Now, does Roy see him as how I see him, as like a number two option to Elise? If he does, let him stay. Don't let him go out on loan because I think he could do a decent role, especially maybe in cup games, maybe when we're chasing games. If Elise gets injured again, I think that's a very good backup to have. And I think that should be the move. You have a youngster who has talent, who I don't know. I don't know if he's ready to be a starter. I think that's the biggest question. But one thing I do know for sure is he's ready to be a squad player. If you have him behind Elise, I think, if Elise was to eventually leave, then he could step up to the plate. And all this time he could be at Palace. Roy could know him. And if something was to happen, such as injuries, Rak-Sakyi could, play that role. Because as you can see right now, the squad doesn't really have that much depth in the first place. But let me know what you guys think as well. Thank you so much for Ian for the super sticker. Really appreciate it as well. Thank you so much for that. Let's see what you guys are saying about Rak-Sakyi. Send in your comments. Do you want him to go out on loan? There isn't that much time. We have to decide sooner rather than later whether we should send him out on loan. There's 100% teams interested, but whether we want to do it, that's another thing. Monty's saying play him. I would say, yeah, 100% play him. We spoke about in a match preview. Make sure to check out tomorrow. We've done a little prediction thing that we're starting as well. We spoke about Rak-Sakyi. We spoke about Hamada. We spoke about Brentford in a bit more depth and how much this game means to us. So make sure to check out the match preview. It should be posted 5 p.m. UK time tomorrow. We also have Iboué. I'll be honest, with all due respect, I think Iboué, yeah, we do have him, but I don't think he's an option right now. I don't know if he's out injured, but yeah, I don't really see Iboué getting the opportunities this season unless something drastic happens. Palace fan says we should keep him. We have very little squad depth in forward areas unless we are prepared bringing someone in. He needs to stay. 100% get where you're coming from. Mitch saying, if you get solid championship loan move, that could be better. That could be better development than occasional off the bench Premier appearances. I understand that as well. AY says maybe, but just shows how many right wings we have in the squad. Look, in terms of the right hand side, we were always stacked. Even when Wilf was at the club, I said it. Even if you kept Wilf, I think we need to bring in another left winger because we just lack depth in terms of quality. I think Schlupp can play a role there, and France, I expect to be a starter, hopefully in that position as a Wilf replacement. But we can 100% improve that as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if the club don't get another winger as well, because they could see Schlupp as an option there, which you can have that debate whether that's good enough or not, but we just need a striker. That's what I need first and foremost. Give me a striker. Mitch saying, I trust Roy on this. He was the one who kept Aaron Wan-Bissaka from going out on loan, so I'm sure he'll do the same for Jess if he's ready. Very good point, Mitch. I know injuries gave Wan-Bissaka the opportunity, but Roy was the one that didn't send him out on loan. Big up Rich as well. Big up Eagle Eye Football. Big up everyone. I believe Iheanacho is in the last year of his contract, so hopefully it won't be too expensive. Jets and Alhamada were lively when they came on. 100% agree as well, bro. David saying we need to keep him as a sub and give him some cup games. We just need to stay in the cups to give him some good progression. But then again, David, is cup games enough? I mean, we got Plymouth. That would be good. God forbid we get knocked out against Plymouth. I think that would be a massive blow. I actually want us to have a decent cup run this time around, especially if it's Roy's last year. But that's the thing. I don't think cup games would be enough. I think he needs a guarantee of, the occasional cup games that when we do play in them, and also Premier League appearances. That's for me. Dan says, would love to see him play, but do not want to harm his development. Yeah, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, people. And that's what I'm saying. There's pros and cons to him staying. It all depends on what Roy sees. It's not straightforward. For example, let me think of a player. There might be a player where we've seen players go out on loan. Maybe Ozil, for example. Let's say Ozil. I can comfortably say if Ozil was to go out on loan, even though he's gone quiet, I think he has an injury. If he was to go out on loan, I don't think anyone has a problem with that. Because he's a phenomenal player, but we can see it. Lerma, Decore there, probably Will Hughes would be next in line, and we got one or two players who could step up to the plate. So Ozil could go out on loan, but with Jez, there's genuine debate. There should be a genuine, healthy debate about whether he should go out on loan, because I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. As I said, I could want Jez to stay, but if Jez is not going to play, then what's the point of him staying? But I could want him to go out on loan. Then again, we might need him because we're lacking depth. So you can see both sides of the case. I don't think it's as straightforward as yes or no. Has anyone said Ibewe is injured? I'm not seeing anything. With academy players, it's not as straightforward. I think it's the same with Ozil as well. But I heard that he was injured anyways. D, do you think we should start Ahmada over Jeff? We spoke about that in tomorrow's match preview, so I'm not going to spoil it. There was a very nasty discussion about Jeff, about his role, about Hamada, Jess, and we had a healthy discussion. So that'll be out tomorrow. Hit the like button, people, 100%. If we get knocked out by Plymouth, imagine the views that Patrick's reaction video would get. I'll be absolutely losing that as well. We cannot get knocked out by Plymouth. I'm not even going to let that negative energy enter this stream right now because we lost yesterday. We have to keep the positivity up. But look, people, that's it for today. Of course, Iheanacho is the one we're chasing according to reports. Whether we get that done is another thing. But Mateta bids turned down, and also Ronnie Edwards, the England under-20 international, who is on the radar for Palace and has been for quite a while. And Rak-Sakyi. Let's see what happens with that. As always, if you have enjoyed this, make sure to smash the like button and subscribe. Tomorrow, the match preview should be out. And also, we'll be back here for live Palace news. Hopefully, an update on the striker situation. We are closing in on the transfer window. Finally, closing. Literally, we have got till next week. What is it? Next week, Friday. So not that long, and time is flying by. We're 3 games in, and trust me, that'll happen sooner rather than later. But look, people, if you have enjoyed it, like, subscribe. Make sure to check out tomorrow's preview as well. That's it from me. And until next time, up the Palace.